Welcome to the WanderLearn show. I'm your host, France Tapon. In this episode, I have back Ege Ritsalu. She is a person who runs workshops in Estonia, but you can also talk to her and meet with her online. She does have one-on-one counseling that she does online. She's really good at discussing radical forgiveness. This is a type of happiness therapy that is good for anybody who has dissatisfaction in their life, perhaps a little bit of stress, anxiety, sense of meaninglessness in life, a lack of purpose, maybe low income or some sort of poor physical or mental health. If you find that you're always being criticized, or you feel that you have shame or guilt in your life, or you have these painful emotions regarding life events that have taken place, maybe divorce, betrayal, offense, claims about a partner, etc., or if you have repeated life patterns in your personal and professional life, perhaps separations. And now, let me present to you Ege Ritsalu from Estonia. Enjoy. Welcome to the WanderLearn show. I'm your host, France Tapon. I'm here back with Ege, and she is a master at forgiveness. Well, she's also a student sometimes too, and so I want to get her back so that I could ask her some specific concrete examples, because I think that's when you learn the most. And in a situation of where Ege had to forgive somebody, and then when she needed to be forgiven. All right, so Ege, let's start with the first one. Somebody wronged you in some way. You were a victim in a sense, and how did you go about forgiving this person?
So I have asked my family's permission actually to share the story. Okay. So when I was 5 years old, my father got stabbed and he died. And for me, and of course to the entire family, it was a huge shock. And for me, it meant losing family, home, all my friends, toys, animals, everything. And I don't remember having a lot of discussion about it because everyone was in shock, everything shut down. But life continued to go on, and it kind of got stuck there. The story came alive when I had my own children. So I think the traumatized inner child inside of me woke up. And I remember that the crying of my own babies was really very painful for me, and I didn't know what was going on. And when I finally decided to search for help, I went to therapy, and this is where the healing process started. But then I realized that I hadn't even grieved in a way that was proper.
So is that step one?
This was step one of actually getting some awareness, like what was inside of me, because all of this story was suppressed, but it was still like boiling and waiting for a time to kind of be released.
I see. And so, but some people, they don't have such a situation where it's long buried.
Yes.
Other people, they know exactly the situation. It hasn't been suppressed.
Yes.
And they're angry, they're frustrated, and they need to forgive. Where did you have to go during this process after your father died and you had to reflect on this?
Yes.
What was the point when you had to frame the story and look at the story and you as a victim, etc.?
It took time. It took time. First, it was a lot of emotions. Then I started to realize what was actually going on.
And how old were you when this was happening?
So this was around 25, a little bit more.
So basically 20 years after
20 years after, and even a little bit later when I went to study therapy and we had the module of forgiveness. So then it was finally, I got this click that this is what I need. And I remember even being angry about like why this topic has been hidden from me, because I have been in need of it in such a strong way. And then I realized the story which was there. This study of being the facilitator of circles of forgiveness, it was very, very powerful.
For you?
Yeah, for me. And also these circles are very powerful.
For everybody
who
participates.
Yes. But it still took a few years that I realized that the victim story is still there. And
so how did you get rid of it? Or how did you reframe it? Did you just change the story?
No, I went to radical forgiveness for that.
And then, give us a tease. I know you don't want to. We're not going to go into all the details, but give us a little tease of what that involved.
So of course, when I discovered the story fully, I allowed myself actually to be the victim in it. I gave permission to kind of go through it, which was already tremendously healing. But then I discovered also the subconscious beliefs that got stuck during that time when my father died. It's like I'm always abandoned by men. I'm not valuable. I need to work hard to be somebody, etc. So all these underlying stories started to emerge, and then I realized that in a way there is wisdom there, and all of this mess I can turn into my message. So I reached this release when I got the reframing of the story, that there is no right and wrong. It's just an experience in my life's journey. But it was a process, because you cannot decide it mentally. It's going through the process and reaching that point. Yeah. So it was tremendously healing. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. And you cannot just decide it mentally. You need to go through it like holistically. And the other important thing is that you cannot cheat with it. Either no it happens, no shortcuts. It just happens, or it doesn't.
Now, in 3 minutes that we have left, what would you say is an example of the opposite, where you needed somebody to forgive you?
Yes, of course, my children. Because when all of this pain came out, for me it was painful to be together with my young children. And I feel there was such beautiful time that I missed.
How old were they? They were
like 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Yes. And I felt guilty in such levels that were very painful. But also...
Because you were not emotionally stable at that time.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was painful.
And so you needed their forgiveness as a mother and say, hey, I'm sorry, I kind of screwed up a bit. I wasn't the mother I wanted to be.
Exactly.
And what did they say? I mean, or how did you approach this?
In many different ways. I asked for forgiveness. We talked about it. And also I see that in a way, if I'm the aggressor, it still means like I'm the victim there, because there's still pain. But at one moment, I really felt that there is the learning journey here. And now I can use all of this experience to be a better version of myself, to love even more openly, to be more aware, and to have much better relationships with them than I did before. But it's a process that needs guidance to go through. So both of them were like, they brought me back to life.
Well, I'm a big fan of forgiveness, and I wanted to have Ege back to talk more about the subject, because I think it's a very important subject on human relations. And whenever you travel, you meet people that offend you one way or another, and you got to learn how to forgive people because you go to places that are culturally bad and culturally different, and then you make these faux pas. And vice versa. You need forgiveness when you travel sometimes, and you need to forgive others. And this is just a little tease. And again, to encourage people where to go to, I'll put links to the show notes.
Yes, my page, egerizalo.com.
I'll have to put that in the show notes. All right, Ege, thanks again. And remember, this is Franz Tapon, encouraging you to wander and learn and to forgive. And that ends this episode of the WanderLearn podcast, where we explore travel, technology, and transformation. If you'd like to see the show notes with links to what we've talked about, go to wanderlearn.com and click on this episode. If you'd like to connect with me, just remember Tapon. That's my first initial and my last name. Tapon is always my social media username. My website is ftapon.com. Do you want to leave me an anonymous voicemail where you can make a comment or ask a question? Then go to speakpipe.com/ftapon. Furthermore, if you'd like to get rewarded for supporting my projects, then go to patreon.com/ftapon. That's where you can pick up some remarkable rewards for as little as $2 a month. Now, 5 quick favors. Number 1, subscribe to the WanderLearn podcast. 2, download it. 3, share it. 4, review it. And 5, sign up for my newsletter at wanderlearn.com. Our theme music was composed by Eric Stratman. This is Franz Tapon, encouraging you to wander and learn.